Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, beautiful souls. Hi, hi, hi. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the last day of the I Am Still challenge. It has been such a joy and such an honor to hold space for you to be still. We have enjoyed practices like yoga. So we started out with a yin and restorative yoga class, yoga flow, and then we engaged in some breath work. Yesterday, we did a sound meditation. And today, it's all about understanding how rest is truly productive, and how rest really gives us the ability to create impact in our lives and businesses. And that rest isn't simply about doing less or doing nothing, but it's about being intentional with what we're doing, being intentional about creating space for stillness, and being intentional about regulating so that we have the capacity to live and embody and be in the life and in our heart's deepest desires. And so before we get into today's workshop, I would love for us to take a couple of moments to ground and to center, just taking some time to connect with our body and our breath and forgetting about anything that may have happened before this moment and fully allowing ourselves to be present in this space. And so, wherever you are, I'm inviting you to find a really comfortable position, whatever position feels most comfortable for you. And this will be a short grounding practice. And so, as you make your way into this position, I invite you to close your eyes if that feels safe for you. You can also keep a low gaze, staring down at the tip of your nose. And so, with your eyes closed or with a low gaze, just begin to notice your breath. Simply beginning to notice your natural pattern of breathing. And just noticing how your inhales and exhales flow in and out without the need to constrict or control. And as you continue to notice your breath, I invite you to affirm, I am safe, I am held, it is safe to be here in my body and with my breath. As you continue to affirm this safety, I invite you to become even more intentional with your breathing. Maybe taking longer and fuller inhales, beginning to notice the belly beginning to expand. Maybe taking slower and more intentional exhales, really allowing the body to begin to soften. Softening more deeply into the position that you chose. Maybe softening through the shoulders, softening through the jaw. Maybe noticing if the tongue is at the roof of the mouth and can you release it? Softening through the face and the brow. Just noticing and allowing your whole body to be soft. Softening into this moment. Softening into the present. And softening into stillness. As you continue to be here with your breath, I invite you to affirm, I am still. I take time to connect with my body and breath. I am calm and move with a sense of peace and harmony. Stress and anxiety roll away. I am worry-free. When I am still, I find beautiful and necessary rest. Rest that is an act of resistance. Rest that is an act of self-care. I am still. So wherever you are, gently placing your hands through heart center if that feels good. And taking one more moment to affirm here together, I am still. Taking a deep breath in through the nose. Pausing with the breath at the top. And then open mouth, sigh it out. Let's do one more just like that. Inhale. Pause. Open mouth, sigh it out. Returning to your natural pattern of breathing, natural pattern of breath. And then slowly and gently inviting in some movement, whatever movement that feels good in your body. And then whenever you feel ready, slowly blinking the eyes opened if they were closed. Taking a moment to look up and around the room first, and then up at the screen as you feel ready. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And so I hope that was a moment for you to continue to lean into this stillness, right? What we've been, leaning into and embodying the sense of stillness and peace and slowing down and rest. And so throughout our challenge, we have engaged in practices that are really designed to aid you on this journey of creating stillness within the mind, within the body, within the spirit, and also giving you tangible tools to be able to guide you into a place of peace, regulation, calm, and stillness. And so today we are really going to be talking about how from this place of regulation and stillness, true impact can be brought forth. True impact can be felt. True impact can be embodied. Because when we show up in the world in our regulated and our calm and our just regulated, still stress-free, know how to navigate selves, we are able to create and be of impact not only within our lives but also within our businesses. And I thought it was really interesting. We brought on a new team member to Team LSC not too long ago. And I was sharing about what we'd be talking about in December. It's our 4th annual stillness challenge. And, I really wanted to have a day where I talk about how rest is productive. And she was like, I've never heard that. Like, I've never heard someone say rest is productive. How could rest be productive? And that is the premise of today's workshop, understanding how rest is productive. And again, how a regulated nervous system, a calm mind, a calm body, a calm spirit can truly help you create lasting impact within your life and within the lives of your clients. And so with that, I'm going to pull up our slides for today. And so now at the end of our time together, I will open the floor up for questions. So as you have questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box or drop them in the chat. I will have some time or leave some time at the end to answer any questions that may come up for my friends who are joining here live. All right, okay. So just checking in. Can you see me? More importantly, can you see the slides on the screen? If you can, just drop a 1 in the chat so I can see. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, dokes. So rest is productive. How creating safety within our mind, body, and spirit creates impact in our life and business. And so I am Linnea. Thank you for being in community with me. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist with over a decade of experience in the mental health and wellness space. I've also been a group private practice owner for a little over 8 years. As a holistic healer, I'm an advanced certified yoga, meditation, and breathwork teacher. I'm also a sound healer and the co-owner of 7 Yoga here in Atlanta. If you're in Atlanta or ever stop by and you're looking for a yoga home, we would love to have you. As a teacher, I train and certify all levels of yoga teachers. I also train and certify sound healers, meditation and breathwork facilitators. And my favorite thing to do is train and certify holistic trauma-informed therapists and healers. As a mental health expert, I've had the honor of having my work featured on some pretty cool platforms and the honor of working with some pretty cool organizations. But a few of my favorite are the New York Times, the Huffington Post, Healthline, Essence, Therapy for Black Girls, UCLA, and Spelman and Morehouse College. I'm a proud Spelman alumna. Are there any Spelman alumna in the building? Please say hello. I'm also a business coach and mentor with over a decade of experience as an entrepreneur. I really love helping therapists and healers expand outside of the box of traditional therapists and healers. And I believe that while we help our communities heal, we are also worthy of living well. And then finally, and I think most importantly, I am a human. I am a wife. I'm a Virgo. Any other Virgos in the building? I've lived in Atlanta for a little over 14 years. I'm a first generation American. My family migrated over from Jamaica. The beach and near the ocean is where my soul feels most at home. And traveling and eating good, emphasis on good, are a couple of my favorite pastimes. And so lovely to meet you. And so let's get into it. Rest is productive. And so it's really important at the foundation of understanding how rest is truly productive and how it helps you to create impact. It's important to understand how your nervous system really impacts your business. And so I just want to do a brief overview of the nervous system. This is a very basic foundational overview of the nervous system. But the nervous system is essentially comprised of 2 parts, right? We have our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. And so the sympathetic is the area of our nervous system that initiates the fight, flight, freeze, and other responses, right? And so this is the area of our nervous system that alerts us and lets us know that we are in danger, we are no longer safe, there is something wrong, there is a threat, right? And the parasympathetic, the other aspect or the other part of our nervous system, the other response rather, initiates the rest and digest response. And so this is the area of the nervous system that allows us to feel safe, to know we're safe, and to say, listen, there's no need for you to activate or to freeze or to do any of those things. You are safe, you can rest, you can digest, you are just fine, right? And so when you are running your business from a place, and really your life too, right? Running your business from a sympathetic response, so many things that you don't want to happen and maybe don't even intend to happen. I think that it's important to understand that we always, right? We'll always go back and forth between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. You know, we are designed, our bodies, our brains, our nervous systems are designed to keep us safe, right? And so a regulated nervous system isn't just about, okay, I'm living in the parasympathetic. Everything is always sunshine and rainbows. And, I'll never experience this stress response again if I, do my breath work and do my things. That's not realistic. There will always be stressors and things that may activate us. But what's important is that we have the tools, right, to get into and lean into the parasympathetic response, right? And so when you're in the sympathetic response, think about, being stressed or being overwhelmed or being overconsumed and starting to worry and just feeling and being dysregulated. So many folks are running and starting and being in business operating from the sympathetic response. And so when you are activating or when you are moving and leading and running your business from this sympathetic response, it usually leads to several things, right? One of them being a lack of clarity in your goals and vision. When you don't allow yourself the space to be in the parasympathetic and to be rested and to be at ease and to be regulated, you're often not very clear on your goals and vision, right? I see this all the time when I'm working with folks in business coaching. There is this want and this desire to create something in the world or expand upon something that has worked or to bring a vision to life, but there's a lack of clarity. Like, where exactly are we going? How exactly do I want to help, or who exactly I want to help? I know I want to impact the lives of women. I'm going to use that. I want to impact the lives of women, entrepreneurs who are first generation college students. I'm just kind of making something up, right? I want to impact them, but I'm not really sure how. And I'm not sure what kinds of things I'd be able to do to impact them, right? There's this lack of clarity. There's this lack of vision. There's these lack of the steps to get to what they want to create. Or maybe you do have clarity around your vision, right? It's something you've been working at for a long time, but you lack the energy to put towards your goals and your vision, right? There is always a period within growing a business where there is going to be some hustle required, right? I talk about this often. You can't just start a business and everything is always going to be smooth, right? You've got to put some extra energy and effort in, especially at the beginning, right? And one of the beautiful things is when you put that effort and energy forth in the beginning, it allows for a more easeful scale of your business, right? But when you're activated or when you're moving from the sympathetic response, you may not have the energy to put towards your goals and visions for many different reasons, right? You're not sleeping well, or you haven't created enough space for yourself. You might be in a position where maybe you're working at corporate and trying to build your business on the side, but you're realizing that because there's not a whole lot of room, or you haven't been able to create a lot of space to regulate, there's not a lot of extra energy to put towards your goals. Or maybe you've started a private practice and you're ready to scale and start group coaching or retreats or courses. And it's a clear vision that you've had for some time, but there's not a whole lot of energy because the practice is consuming you and you haven't been able to, again, find space to regulate, find space to be in stillness, find space to really allow yourself to move into the parasympathetic, right? And these are very common things that I see often. And another response related to the sympathetic response is rushing to launch things and also feeling like you're behind. Have y'all felt like you're behind? You get on social media, you check in with your friends who are also in business, and you're starting to feel a little behind. And because you're feeling behind, maybe you start to rush things, right? You're like, ooh, I'm comparing, right? Comparison is also something that comes up often when we're moving and running our business from a sympathetic response. But you find yourself rushing launches, right? Launches that you had originally planned to take, anywhere between a month to 3 months, you're now trying to get done in 2 weeks. Or there's an idea that you have that's not fully fleshed out, but you're rushing to launch it and you're missing out on some key details to make it a smooth launch. You're finding yourself constantly rushing or you're also finding yourself in this space where you feel like you can't keep up, like you're trying to do all the things and you just can't keep up, right? So this is another, you know, symptom of you running your business from a place, from a sympathetic response, right? And then it's also, it's really about um, creating from a space of scarcity. That's what's missing. A place of scarcity, a place of fear, right? You're creating out of fear. If anyone can relate to this, maybe you've gotten in a situation when you're like, I really actually want to, one of my visions or one of my things that I want to do is, let's say you want to run an international retreat. But because you're in this sympathetic response, you're in this dysregulated response, you are now creating from a space of fear and of lack. And so instead of putting the intention and the effort and the work towards building your international retreat, you're creating from a space of fear, and you're saying, okay, well, maybe I want to do an international retreat. Maybe let me just do a one day retreat, a couple miles up the street, right? Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but if that's going against the true vision that you have for yourself, that is a form of creating from fear, creating from a space of fear, creating from a space of lack, creating from a space of comparison. Ooh, I see she did it, but can I really do that? Right? So think about all the moments where you wanted to put something out into the atmosphere, but you let the fear or the doubt or the comparison or the lack of energy or the lack of clarity stop you from executing, right? Executing what you know deep in your soul and deep in your being is something that you've been called to create and do. And so this is what it feels like, right? If this resonates at all, this is what it feels like and looks like to be creating when you're in this sympathetic response, right? When you're not regulated, right? And so on the flip side of that, there is a way that you can lead and run your business and hold space from the parasympathetic response. Again, our seat of rest and digest, our seat of the nervous system that allows us to know that we are safe. And so what does it look like when you can run your business and lead from a place of safety as opposed to danger, right? And so it's really the opposite of everything that we mentioned, right? It's having the energy to see your launches through. And so if you are an experienced entrepreneur, if you just have experiences with launches, you know that it requires a lot of energy, particularly your big launches, especially, for things like your signature program or your memberships or your retreats. It requires a lot of energy. And so when you are creating and leading and running your business from this rested place, you have the energy to put towards your launches, right? You are not, crawling your way to the finish line of a launch. You're ending the launch, feeling regulated, being able to really reflect on how it went and not feeling burnt out at the end of launches. I see this often. You put forth all this energy, you're not taking care of yourself during the launch. And then once the launch is over, you're like, girl, I am burnt out. I'm overwhelmed. I don't even have the energy to teach the thing I was just selling, right? And so when you can lead and run your business from this regulated place, you have the energy to be able to see your launches through. And I think one of the more important aspects of running your business from this place of regulation is to be able to create and sell from a place of authenticity versus comparison. There is always going to be a lot of noise. There's always going to be someone that's doing something that's similar or something you aspire to do or something that's kind of like what you're doing, right? There's nothing new under the sun. But the difference is when you are moving from a place of regulation and safety, you know that your authentic blueprint and the way you show up and the way that you deliver and the way you hold space, there are people that are specifically called and drawn to your authentic self. God has placed people on this earth that will be specifically drawn and attracted to and really resonate with your authentic self and with who God created you to be, right? And being able to create and sell and hold space from a place of authenticity is one of the most liberating and easeful things that you can do for your business, right? There is never a trend that you have to keep up with. There's not a framework that you have to follow. There's not, there's nothing you have to keep up with. I mean, I'm not talking about, your skill set and making sure that you're up to date on things, but there's no trend that you have to keep up with. There's no certain thing or, way that you have to do something when you're moving from a place of authenticity. And if we're honest, finding and being and embodying your authentic self is one of the greatest journeys in our lifetime, right? It's really understanding who God created you to be and being that person out loud. And when you can be that person out loud, especially with your business, you inspire others to be themselves. And again, the people who are called to you will be able to find you and not find someone else, because you are standing in and owning and embodying who you are authentically, right? And when you can stand in your truth authentically, it doesn't matter what the next person's doing. There's no need to compare, right? Outside of market research, right? But there's no need to compare or try to tweak things to align like what you think you should be doing. You're able to create and be in a space where it's authentic, right? It's who you are. And so that is that's the magic. You are the magic. And there's also lots of clarity, right? Clarity in business is so important, right? Clarity in general. But when you're moving from this place of regulation, you're more clear. You're more clear on the type of offers you want to bring to market. You're more clear on who you're called to serve. I think clarity on who you're called to serve is one of the most important things that you will be able to do in your business, right? Being very clear on who you are called to serve is one of the foundational things that will truly make starting, growing, and scaling your business a lot more easeful, right? And the way we truly lean into clarity and not what we think we should be doing, but really knowing and owning who we're called to help, that comes when we're regulated. That comes when we've given ourselves the space to rest. That comes when we are integrating practices into our daily routines that nourish our souls. That comes when we can establish boundaries around the time that we are setting aside to pour into our cups. That happens when we are intentional about our stillness, our pause, our calm, our ease, and our peace, right? All the things we've been talking about and experiencing in this challenge up until this point. And when you move from this place of regulation, you really become an example for your communities, for the people you're called to serve, as to what it looks like to lead from a place of balance and calm, to lead from a place of regulation, to lead not only from a place of confidence, but from a place of balance. And I'm a big believer that we truly find balance and harmony within our lives and businesses when we can create enough space and be intentional enough about, again, finding stillness, being in the pause, nourishing our souls, integrating practices that allow us to regulate our nervous system and to be in the parasympathetic, right? And you being that example, right? I think that's the greatest thing that you can give and offer to your communities, being an example of what it looks like and feels like to lead and hold space from a place of balance, calm, and regulation, right? And being able to speak directly to them from this place of balance, calm, and regulation, because let's be honest, y'all, our communities and our clients, they know when we're not regulated. They know when we're coming in feeling rushed. They know, they feel it, right? And so not only being an example, but also understanding that you do your best work. You hold space in the most beautiful way when you yourself are rested, right? It is, I won't say it's impossible because, sometimes we do it, but it is so difficult. And if you've ever been burnt out or if you're currently experiencing burnout, you know that it's incredibly difficult to hold space, to facilitate, to lead, to run your business from a place of depletion, right? But how often do we as therapists and healers and women who lead, how often are we pouring, giving to others and not giving to ourselves? And there comes a point where we give too much, we give our last, and there's really nothing left for us, right? And so understanding that when you can give from your overflow, like I am a big believer that, fill yourself up so much that you're really giving and pouring from the overflow, because the overflow is your best work, right? The overflow is where you can really deliver to your clients and really lead from a place of regulation and truly have the impact that you desire. And so when we talk about leading and moving and running our businesses and holding space from this place of regulation, it's really important to understand the role that the vagus nerve plays in our nervous system. And so I'll just go back to that graphic really quickly with the nervous system broken up in two parts. I want you to kind of think of this dot here as the vagus nerve, right? So you can kind of think of the vagus nerve as somewhat of a mediator, right? It's a mediator between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, but it's also giving and receiving information, right? And so our vagus nerve acts like somewhat of a mediator between the sympathetic and parasympathetic. But what I always find the most interesting, and the fact that I always love to share about the vagus nerve, is that yes, the vagus nerve transfers information from the brain into the gut or the body, and from the body and or gut into the brain. But 80%, y'all, 80% of the information that's being transferred from the vagus nerve is from the body to the brain. And so what does that essentially mean? It means that your body knows well before your mind can process whether or not you are feeling safe or unsafe, right? And so what this essentially means is that as we talk about leading and running our businesses from a place of regulation, it is imperative that we strengthen our vagal tone and that we integrate practices into our routine that allow us to move into the parasympathetic, right? And so one of the things about strengthening our vagal tone is that when your vagal tone is stronger, it's more easeful to move into the parasympathetic response. Remember, I shared earlier, regulation is not about always being in the parasympathetic and everything is always sunshine and rainbows. Wouldn't that be nice? But it's really about in the moments of stress, right? In the moments where overwhelm can come, in the moments where, you gotta get the launch done. You gotta do the last thing. There's some stressors, right? You don't succumb to the stressors, but you're able to regulate and move yourself into the parasympathetic response, into the response of rest and digest, right? So we're not running and doing the launches and running our business from this dysregulated place. We pause, we notice, we feel the stress, and then we're able to integrate practices or notice it and move into the parasympathetic because we've been consistent about integrating these practices, about carving out space for rest, about carving out space to be still. And so if you don't know, let me plug in my computer 1 second. If you don't know, I love a blend of practices. I love to call them the trifecta. And those practices are yoga, breath work, and sound healing. Y'all, I love it. Right. And so you've been able to experience those practices with me throughout the last several days of the challenge. And so I love breath work. I love yoga. I love sound healing. These are practices that I believe, help to facilitate healing and regulation. And I think they're practices that really help us, especially as CEOs and business owners and also healers, to be able to lead and to guide from a place of regulation. These practices help us to move into the parasympathetic response. They help to strengthen and improve vagal tone. They help to treat symptoms of anxiety, depression, and trauma responses, right? And it also helps us to increase embodiment. Remember, I spoke about, being able to be an example of what it looks like to run your business and or hold space from a place of regulation. What it looks like to lead and hold space from a place of being well rested. These practices are tools to help us get to that point, right? And so, once you regulate, right, you really are creating the capacity to hold more, right? And so when we talk about holding more, what does that mean? That means scaling your business. That means offering, new offers. That means doing the retreat you've been called to do. It means creating the course you've been called to create. It means, growing and expanding your business. It means holding space in a new way. But you can't execute and you can't deliver on the vision that God has given you if you're depleted, right? And so when you regulate, you create the capacity to hold more. You create the capacity to hold more impact, more income, and more in a business that expands beyond one-on-one, right? And so I think this is the piece that we don't talk enough about. We as business owners, as CEOs, as healers, right? We want to create more impact. We want to create more income. We want to expand our offers beyond one-on-one, but we are not creating the space to ground, to rest, to slow down, to be still, to integrate practices that help us experience those things. And, I'm a big, big believer that we as healers, we've got to do our own work. We've got to pour into our cups first before we pour into others. And it's from that space that you can create more capacity to hold, right? I'm like so passionate about this. I've created a retreat on it, a membership on it. It's infused in all of the things that I teach because I believe it. And I've been on the other side of it, y'all. I've been on the other side where I'm growing and scaling my business from a place where I'm not regulated. And I'm so focused on growing my business that I'm forgetting about myself. And baby, the burnout, the depression, the what is going on was real. And so I'm so passionate about really equipping, therapists and healers and holistic CEOs with the tools to be able to regulate not only the business strategy, because yes, you need the business strategy, right? But more importantly, or just as important as the strategy is or are the tools to regulate, creating the space and reminding you and holding space for you to be able to take a deep breath, to rest, to be in ease, and to take that pause. And so as we're talking about, these practices, sound healing in particular really thrives off of, or really is based on the power of the chakras, right? And so if you're not familiar, the chakras are your energy centers. We all have them. And the chakras are not just a spiritual or energetic thing, but it's also grounded in science, right? Each of the chakras are connected to actual biological systems in your body. And so the chakras not only tell us characteristics, but they also talk a little bit about the different systems in the body that they govern, right? And so the chakras also depict a really beautiful path to manifestation, right? A really beautiful path to creation. And so if you look at the chakras in the sense of having a path to creation, you start with the crown, right? the crown, that's when you get the vision. God has placed that vision. He's giving you the vision, and so you're like, yes, I got it, right? I got the vision. Then you start to see the vision. You're starting to see like what it's going to look like, and how you're going to, you do the things. And then you start getting in the creation mode, and you start talking about it, and you start speaking the thing into existence, and you're really creating. And then you're sharing it. You're really feeling into it. You're sensing the impact that will come from the vision that God has given you. And then you are feeling confident in this vision, right? You've got the skill set, you're feeling confident, you're doing the things. And then you are, really leading into the emotion of it all, the creativity of it all, right? But in order to birth that thing, in order to see that thing through, it's gotta move through the root. And what does the root govern? It governs our seat of security. And so what this essentially means is that you can have the vision, you can do the things, you can feel into it, you can speak it into existence. But if you are in a dysregulated state, if you are in a state of scarcity, of survival, of not being regulated, it's going to be hard to bring that vision to life, right? And so the flow of manifestation and creation requires safety. It actually requires that you regulate, and it requires that you create more room for stillness. And so this is really the premise, right? This is the premise of understanding how rest is truly productive. Because when we can lead and we can create from a place of deep rest, it allows us the ability to create greater impact, to increase our income, and to expand our businesses in ways that feel aligned, right? And so this is the journey of regulating to receive. This is the journey of understanding how rest truly does create impact, right? And so when you are creating, again, impact in your life and business, it requires a blend of creating safety within the mind, body, and soul. It also requires that you know yourself, and also requires business strategy. It's a blend. It's a both and, right? I believe in the both and approach. It's never just one thing. This holistic approach really expands into everything. And so the holistic approach that I teach from, and so it's this holistic therapist methodology is what I infuse in my business coaching, I infuse in my healing sessions, and what I ultimately teach and train other therapists to do. And so this holistic approach, when it comes to business, right, it's imperative. It's imperative that we are nourishing our physical layer, right? We're nourishing our physical layer. It's imperative that we're nourishing and attuning to our energetic layer, and also taking care of our money, right? And healing our relationship with money, because money is an energy. It's imperative that we're attuning to our mental and emotional, right? That's the strategy. That's the clarity, right? That's what's necessary to bring that vision to life. And then it's imperative that we honor our spiritual layer. What is your connection to God and source? How are you co-creating with God? How are you creating space to allow the vision that he's given you to shine through? And then communal. How are you being supported, right? Are you being supported? Do you have friends who are also business owners? Do you have mentors? Do you have coaches? Do you have people that can support you on this journey, right? And so I think it's really important that we not just look at this holistic approach to, for our mental health, which is where I'm often talking about it, right? But it's also about taking this holistic approach to our businesses, right? And I really want you to reflect on, right, which layer am I needing a little bit more nourishment, right? Where am I being called to pause and pour into a little bit more in this season, right? And so it's from this place that you create the impact, that you increase the income, and that you truly create and run and have the business of your heart's desires, right? And so again, this is the journey. This is the journey of regulating to receive, and the journey of creating impact. And so I want to take a couple of moments to see if there are Any questions or anything you would like some guidance around as it pertains to infusing this, not only this holistic approach, but infusing this perspective that a rested CEO is an impactful CEO, right? A rested healer is an impactful healer. A rested, therapist is an impactful therapist. And so I'm going to leave the floor open to see if there are any questions about what we just talked about as far as creating stillness. All right, let me see the question is. Okay. Okay, so can you speak more? Can you speak more to money being an energy and how we can create stillness regulation around money as a business owner? Really great question. So money it's an energy, right? It's something that's being exchanged, right? And so when you think about the services that we offer as healers, right? That there's an energy exchange there. And in exchange for that energy, we get the energetic blueprint, or not the energetic blueprint, we get the energy or the currency of money, right? And so when you are, just think about it for a moment. When you are able to generate more money in your business, how are you typically feeling? Right? You're typically feeling more rested. You typically have more clarity, right? Maybe you don't feel rested, but there's some clarity. You're really experiencing some of the things we talked about when you are running your business from a place of regulation. And so what that looks like is, right, like in your daily routine, how are you carving out time? I'm a big believer that it only takes 5 minutes consistently a day, right, to be able to strengthen the vagal tone, to regulate, and to really create space for stillness, right? And one of the more tangible ways that you can do that, specifically when it comes to running your business, an example I like to give is, towards the end of the year, a lot of folks try to launch new things. They try to, enroll people in live programs and so on and so forth. One of the ways that you can create stillness as a business owner is to offer sales on things that have already been created. So think about some of your self-paced things. Think about some of the things that are more easeful to deliver. So offering sales around that, that's a tangible way that you can create stillness, right? In tandem with you integrating these practices, right? Being consistent, creating space for yourself. Another thing is, right, not launching anything new, right? Repurposing things. So even, let's say you did a training at the beginning of the year. How can you repurpose that content? How can you repurpose that content and make it something new, right? So let's say you taught on trauma-informed approach to play therapy, right? I used to be a play therapist. Trauma-informed approach to play therapy. And you recorded it, you taught it live, but you have a recording. You can, towards the end of the year, you can repurpose that. You can sell the recording of that workshop, right? You don't have to do another live workshop. You can just repurpose something you've already done. You can take things that you've done at the beginning of the year or maybe the year prior and package it in a new offer. So let's say you did a challenge, like a self-care challenge. And in that self-care challenge, you did guided journaling, guided meditation, and a breathwork practice. I'm kind of throwing things out there. You can repackage that into a new self-care offer, right? And so it's about how can we be strategic and not put additional energy forth towards the end of the year when we should be slowing down, in tandem with how can you make sure that you're creating enough time and space for your stillness practices, right? And so when you can be in tandem and work, allow these principles to work hand in hand, the both and, the strategy and the self-care, it creates the ability for you to earn money without having to be in this dysregulated state. I think that was a really long answer. Really long answer to your question, but let me know if that makes sense or if you have a follow-up question to that. That was a really great question. Any other questions about anything that we talked about today? So moving from a place of, or leading from a place of regulation, growing and scaling your business from a place of regulation. All right, let me see. Oh, you're welcome. All right, good. I answered the question for you. So my question is, and let me know in the chat if you feel called, but how often are you as a business owner, right? How often are you as a holistic CEO creating space for yourself? Like, just be honest, answer that question for yourself. Like, are you creating space for yourself? And it could be a yes, it could be a no, it could be girl once a week, once a month. How often are you creating space for yourself? And if you've gotten to a space where you're able to create more space for yourself, how does it feel? Right? I think that's a really great tool. Like, compare you running your business from a place of stress and overwhelm versus you running your business from a place of feeling regulated and calm. So y'all are being shy tonight. Like, I see the call. It's okay. You don't have to, if you don't want to talk to me in the chat, it's all good. Okay, let me see one. Not as much as you should, right? Okay, so not as much as you should. Is anyone on this call right now giving them enough space for stillness? Like, are you like, yes, Linnea, I am creating enough space for myself. I am doing all the things. I am nourishing myself equally. Is anyone on this call feeling that way? Let me know. And there's two ways you can drop your answers in the chat. You can drop it to everyone where everyone can see, or you can just send it directly to the hosts and panelists. And that way I only see. So if you're like, girl, I don't want people in my business, you can message me directly and I'll say, okay. So someone says not at all. Okay. I'm learning to create space through a yoga training course. I love that. Yeah. Man, there's nothing like a teacher training that will help you like really being intentional about creating space. Okay. So yeah, so if we're honest, we're not creating enough space for ourselves. And so this is, I encourage you, I invite you to see how can you create more space for yourself so that you can, right, create and move from a place of regulation. Okay, wait. Let's see. I feel like I'm doing all the things, but not as often as I should. Just thinking today, I need to schedule a quarterly vacation time off. I love that. Yes, yes, yes. A quarterly vacation, quarterly time off. I love that. But also too, I think that this is something that comes up often when folks are like, well, like, people are in different stages of their business. Well, what if I can't do that? There is nothing like creating consistent space for yourself each day. And it doesn't mean that you have to take, the longest time. Like for example, for me, once I finish with Thursdays are my client facing days. And so for me, I'm doing a blend of business coaching. I'm doing a blend of holistic healing sessions. I'm doing a blend of therapy. I'm doing a blend of meetings, right? And so once I got done with my client facing part of the day, I went outside and I sat with my what are these called, y'all? Mason jar of water, and just allowed myself to just put my phone to the side and just took a couple deep breaths, drank my water, listened to, were there birds outside? I think there might have been some birds, but, listen to the birds and just give myself that space to decompress. And I try to give myself something like that daily before then kind of getting back into the things that have to be done and then prepping for this workshop, right? And so understanding that just creating a little bit of space for yourself each day is also really impactful, but definitely love the quarterly vacation, quarterly time off. I love that. Let's see. I'm giving myself more spaciousness than ever before. I saw my last client for the year and won't see clients again until the night. Yes, that's not typical. Usually I'd be squeezing everyone in the days between holidays and in the new year. I absolutely love that, Kim. Hey, Kim. I love that. I'm so proud of you. You should be proud of yourself. That's another beautiful example of giving yourself the spaciousness, particularly right during this time of year, right? And instead of trying to hustle your way to the end of the year, you're creating space for yourself. And I think that's a beautiful and tangible example of, you know, what that looks like and what that means, right? We're not hustling our way to the end of the year, right? We are ending the year rested and regulated. And I think that's a beautiful example. Thank you so much, Kim. I love that. All right. So I want to take this time to say thank you for showing up so fully. I want you to stay connected, stay in community with me. I think I got to slide on that. Here we go. Stay connected. You will be receiving an email from me with a little end of the year surprise. So check or look out in your inbox. I think that's how I want to say it. Look out in your inbox for a special end of the year little gift from me to you to hopefully help you continue this journey of being still. If you're not already connected on socials, connect with me on socials, DM me. When you receive that special email tomorrow, reply and let me know how you'll be taking advantage of creating more room for stillness, not only in your life, but also in your business. And if you are a therapist or healer who is taking a holistic approach or wants to take a holistic approach to the way you work with clients, feel free to join my free Facebook community. Thank you so much for showing up so fully for this I Am Still challenge. It's been an honor to run this 4th year in a row. So I'm excited to keep it going and excited to continue to remind you, particularly towards the end of the year. Let's really lean into the wisdom that God has infused into the seasons, and let's create more space for the slowdown, right? Not only is it beneficial for our self-care and beneficial for our lives, but it's also beneficial for our businesses. And so thank you so much. I'm sending you all the love. The recordings will be available and sent out via email. Have a beautiful holiday season. And I hope to be in community with you in the new year. See y'all.